YouTube, you're making me very upset. Okay, hi everyone. Sorry for the technology glitch. It was a rough morning. No, actually, my morning was fine. I don't know what happened, but I am back here. Yeah, YouTube sometimes like makes me upset. So today I'm going to demonstrate some brush marker blending, and this is the end result, or this is what the end result will look somewhat like this one. And but it looks like the watercolor painting, but actually I'm going to use brush markers to do these. So of course you can do this with watercolor, and normally when you see these kind of painting or these kind of artwork on the internet, it's probably done by watercolor because that's what watercolor is best known for, or that's what usually what people do with using watercolor to achieve a nice gradient blending. But sometimes your watercolor skills not that well, or it's just a lot of hassle to bust out all the watercolor tools. And with watercolor, you will need to have more skill to do this kind of blending. So today I'm going to show you how to use your brush marker to do this. Now I have to say these are watercolor paper, so they are a little rough on your watercolor on your brush marker, because these markers are usually felt tips or nylon tips. And over time, if you always write on a rough surface like the watercolor, with the watercolor texture paper, it will cause your brush tip to be worn out more quickly. That's just the nature of it. So what I would suggest is you use markers that are already frailed, already like a little messed up, and they don't when you don't get the fine tip anymore. This is when you can use to do this project. I wouldn't use your favorite new brush marker to do this, because again, you really should find nice smooth paper to write on. So today I have several, I've been like collecting brush markers here and there, and sometimes people give me brush markers as gift. And so I have a lot of I have a lot of brush markers, and honestly I don't use it as much as I should. I just like the color of it. That's I have some issues with collecting stationaries. So I'm going to use three brand of brush marker. This one I have is King Art. This is a pretty affordable brand. Their tips are not that it's not as, I don't know what to say. It's not as pointy, or it does frail easily anyway. So and that's why they're affordable. So I don't blame them. But they have a lot of colors. So this is if you just want to practice, or if you just like to have many colors to choose from, this is it's a pretty good brand, affordable brand to have. And I also have a bunch of these Crayola brush markers. So these markers, they frail really easy, and also the color are a lot of color are very similar. So it's just a fun, for coloring, it's fine. But for lettering, the tip is not as not the way quite I like it, but nonetheless, it's a good option to have. And then of course I have also some tumble markers. So tumble brush marker, dual tip marker. These are like probably one of the most popular brush markers out there, and they are almost double the price of a King Art marker. So I would say you probably don't want to use your Tombow marker unless they're already old and frail, but you probably want to reserve this. But for you guys, I'm going to use my Tombow marker to work on these projects. So before I start, I need to explain a little bit about color and color wheels. So this is kind of a color wheel. I made this one. And pretty much it's just how the color transition from one to another. And believe it or not, it's invented by Isaac Newton. So thank you, Sir Isaac Newton. And it's easy to blend color if they are close to each other. So if they are next to each other on the chart, then you can easily transition from one to another. So for instance, here in this case, I have orange and a little, to pink. So orange to red to pink. So they are, they are still kind of neighboring. So it's easy to make the transition. But if you want to go from red to green, then it would be, quite difficult. So rule of thumb is don't go from right across the wheel. You could if you're, very skilled in blending color, but for beginners or most of the time, you want to do a detour. You want to travel along the circle instead of just going straight across. So if you do want to blend something from red to green, you would probably want to make, a couple stops. So red to this purple to this blue and then to green. But you also don't have to always travel in the same direction as long as you're close to each other. So you can go from red to pink and then to orange and then back to pink and then back to yellow, as long as you're not, 3 or 5 steps away, and you should be fine. So this is just what I created with the markers I have, and these are markers, and then I just put use watercolor brush to wet them and then activate the paint. So I just always have this next to me. Although you probably already know color wheels in your head, but sometimes it's just nice to have it on your desk for quick reference. And here I already cut off these watercolor paper. These are Canson watercolor paper. I will I will make the link of all the materials in the description. I had it in the original video, but then that one went out the window. So I'll do this after I finish this live. And another thing you need is some watercolor brush and some water, or you can also use a water brush. I am actually going to use some water, and then this is not a fancy brush, just a regular medium-sized brush. Whatever the brush size really depends on the size that you're working with. So I think this is a good size for this size of paper. I have the regular cold press paper. I also have some hot press watercolor paper. So hot press paper is a little bit more smoother than the cold press. So maybe you want to do that just to help your brush to be a little not too harsh on your brush. So I'm going to do something similar with these three. And normally you can, one thing you can do with all these markers, if you don't want to ruin your marker, they're new, or you want to keep them as pristine as they can be, you can paint on any kind of plastic or non-paper surface, smooth surface that give you that the ink doesn't absorb in. So like plastic is a good one. And then you can use a brush with some water, and then use them as as a watercolor. And then you can definitely create blending with this, just continue to lay different color, draw different color on your palette or on a plastic surface, and then use your brush to use it as almost just like watercolor. And with that, you can probably create something, a nice blend like these. But as you can see, these are really light color. It's very pretty, but you can definitely do that. But you will never get to a deep and saturated blend like this. So today I'm going to draw directly on the paper. That's why we can get a deep blending, deep color. So I don't need this anymore. And let's do. So for the first one, we're going to do something similar to this one. I don't know what happened to the paper size. I cut it differently, but anyway. So for this one, I'm just going to use two brush pen. This one is yellow, this one's blue, and in the middle, hopefully we'll get a nice green. And you'll be surprised how easy it is. So I think this is the right side. You can definitely tape your paper down on the border, and then you will get a nice, crisp border. But I don't feel like doing that, and also I like the way it's, just organic and messy. Not messy. This is not messy. This is very nice. So I'm just going to draw. Just start coloring. You can definitely draw a pencil box if you're not confident on, but really this is just coloring. You should be fine without a pencil line. And normally when we're doing this blending, the darker color is going to have more force or more impact on the light color. So I'm actually going to draw the light color all the way to like halfway, even though like at the end you will see like yellow is only like this much, but the blue is going to affect the yellow in the middle. So I'm going to actually draw it all the way to the middle. And then I'll just use the blue one. I'm not sure if this is the exact color, but we'll see. You see this marker, this one is a King Art, but then as you can see, like the tip is already like frailed. That's why it's, you can't really do brush pen calligraphy with this marker anyway. But there's, still plenty of ink in it. So this is one of the way that you can use up all the ink, even when the tip of the marker is frailed and messed up. So this is going to turn into this, I hope. I'm going to start on the light color side. I will do probably 2 passes, one from light to from yellow to blue, and then the second pass coming back down. So here I have some water. I'll use my water. Oh wow, this is very tight. And I also have some napkin, paper towel, so I can just dab off the extra water if I need to. And just load your brush with plenty of water, but not too crazy, not to not to the point that it's dripping, but just enough that there is, it's pretty juicy. And just do the same thing. And as soon as you hit the paper, it will just activate the paint or the ink. And you might need to just add more water as you go. So when doing watercolor, or this I would say fake watercolor, anytime you do something with water, you don't want the water to pull up. So you don't want to see any puddle. If you see any puddle, you want to redirect the paint. And I'm going to do it from the top down. I don't know what happened here, but and you can really be very what you call that? You don't have to be too careful. Like this is a very forgiving art project. You want to have enough water that the ink is being pushed around, but you don't want to see like streaks, like have some here. So the brush was a little too dry. Okay, this water I have to move because it's blocking me. And also another thing with watercolor is that it always looks better when it's completely dry. In another way, it always look like not as good when it's still wet. So if in the middle of working in the process, you're like, oh, this is messed up, it's not, I messed up, don't worry. When it's dry, it will look like 10 times better. Okay, I probably should be more careful in the between. So I'm just going to add more, I'm going to do another pass from the top down, I think. Another thing will be nice if you taped your paper down is that your paper wouldn't buckle as much as like I have here. But since it's so small, I think it's alright. And now you can just let it dry and just make sure there's no pulling around. And try to keep your paper as flat. That's why you probably should tape it. But okay, that's good. That's alright. Okay, I'm going to just leave it. Okay, it's similar, right? Okay. And I'm going to, while it's drying, I'm going to do the other ones. If it still doesn't get dry, I have a key gun that I can dry it. So this time, this one, I'm actually going to use a hot press watercolor paper. So for this one, let's do something like this one. So here I have, what do I have? I have a light blue, and it's always good to test out the color before you draw. As you can see, like a lot of them, you know, the cap and the it doesn't quite. It will look you would think it's a lot more pale, but actually it's not. Like always do a mark on the paper before you draw on the actual thing. And then I have this one is Tombow 743 pink. And also I like Tombow. It's better for, you know, it's more expensive. Not only the quality is better, the pen tip lasts longer, but also it has a number on every color. So if you want to collect different color, it's easier to know what color you already have. Like this one, it just says like nothing. I mean, I number it myself, but really it's like, it doesn't tell you what. So if you buy a different pack, then you might end up having duplicates. Okay, so these are the three color I'm going to use. This one is also King Art. So this is, I hope, you know, you can see how quickly you can achieve this blending background. And then actually, I always want to have more lighter color because I know it will get darker later. So, and then the pink. Oh, I think this pink is too dark. Oh, I don't know. We'll see. Is this a different pink, I think. Oh well. And then finally the blue. So you can see here, I went from orange to pinkish to blue. So they are still traveling alongside this color wheel path. And the good thing with, instead of using watercolor, you have to move somewhat quickly. But with if you're using what we do here with brush marker, this can actually sit here for a long time. And then whenever I feel like, I come back and water it. So again, I'm going from the lighter color. Actually, I like this hot press water because it's so smooth, but actually I feel like the paint, like, because there's no texture, it seeps into the paper more than the cold press color. You can still see, right? Maybe I'll do the same thing again on a cold press watercolor paper. And yeah, this is not how I like it. It's okay. We can do it again. It takes no time. There are certain projects that the hot press paper are very good for, and I don't think this is one of them. So if you see, like, you still see the streaks and it doesn't blend that well. Okay, so this is a demonstration of like fail. No, actually, I think we can somehow fix it. Wow, and this is live. So that did not look like that. Let's try again on a different paper. Okay, so now I have the cold press. That was unexpected. I thought that would blend really well, but and then the pink. I think I want more blue on this one. Okay, fingers crossed. Okay, this is much better. Oh, thank goodness. And actually, before I get to the blue, I'm going to work on the pink more. Too wet. Okay. And back to the blue. Whoa, come back. Okay, this is much better than the other one. That was embarrassing. And these are, if you make these bigger, they can definitely be a nice greeting card or bookmark, postcard, you name it. Okay, now I like this purple. I can see there's a lot of water on the surface, so I'm actually going to dry my brush a little bit to pick up some of the excess water, just a little bit. It's a balance between picking up excess water and not leaving your, brush mark. Okay, so that's much better. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the other one. That was a pretty bad demo. And now, while it's dry, we can move on to the next one, something like this. So we went from 2 color to 3 color, and then this next one we're gonna go for a lot of colors. So I have, actually these purple, and then 2 orange, and then a red. Actually a yellow to orange to red to purple. So we'll go from something like this. I just touched yellow to orange to red to purple, so it stays here. yellow. I know the red is going to bleeding to the orange quite a bit, so I have more orange. Is this the right red? Okay, it's a little dark. I want it to be more red on this one, and the purple will be just the top. And then I have this, this one's from Crayola, this called Plum. It looks like purple, it's actually almost like gray or blue, like, you know, midnight blue. So here are my color. And a beautiful rainbow. So back to yellow, and then if you feel like they're not blending, just work on it for like a little bit, you know, swish it back and forth. Like I said, it's really quite forgiving, this project. It might not look perfect right now, but once it's dry and once you add a little doodling and embellishment or whatnot on top, or, you know, if you want to do lettering, leave, you know, not, I'm going to do some, you know, small drawings, but you can totally just letter on this. Then, you know, whatever imperfection you think there is in the blending, it will just fade into the background. Okay, and then I'm going to work more. You see, like now I have too much water here. You would see like it's like bleeding or like just invading. So we don't want that. But I'm going to come in with the second pass to fix that problem. So when you see problem like that, that means there is too much water. Okay, now there is more dark. And then come to the red. Well, some people like that, I don't know, that bleeding effect. Depending on what project you're working on, I guess. But for this one, I don't want it to have that bleeding effect. Okay, so now we have this one. And they are not quite dry yet. Well, actually, see, the first one is already pretty dry. And then the second one, oh, it's also pretty dry. I'm just going to blast it with a little heat gun just to speed up or make sure it's really, really dry. Okie dokie. So usually when you see, if you're thinking of these as some sort of sunset, I mean, beautify sunset, Usually sunset has red or yellow towards the bottom, towards the horizon, and then more blue, green, or purple at the top. But if you're, like if you would don't think of it as sunset, just a regular gradient, then you can use whatever, in whatever orientation. But since I'm trying to pretend that these are sunset, I'm going to have the yellower side on the bottom. And on these test one that I did, I have like a cityscape, a desert, and then also like a, I feel like this is like a California vibe. I don't know, like palm tree. But there are other ideas you can also do. So I'm going to do something different just to show you the possibility. And what I'm going to use is actually, what am I going to use? I actually just use a regular ball pen. So this I have a Muji ball pen, like a regular pen, whatever black pen you have. Make sure you test it on another piece of paper. Make sure that it's not bleeding because who knows, right? Just to be sure, to be safe. So it goes like this. So instead of the palm tree, oh, actually, you can see here, I also did these sun stuff. So I'm going to do that now. Just because that way, while I'm doing the line drawing, it can be dried. And in that case, I'm actually going to use my brush, watercolor brush, to do this. So how these are called like lift in watercolor technique. It's called you're lifting the paint. So I have a water brush here, and I'm just going to draw a circle. And this is nothing, it's just water. So you can definitely use a regular brush, and just as you're picking up the paint, just dabbing it off, and then you will start to remove the paint that's on the paper. I'm telling you, every time I do live, my landlord will start yelling not yelling, or start speaking loudly outside. So here, and running up and down the stairs. Thank you, landlord. And so here is a sort of a sun, a hazy sun. And then I'll do some of these horizontal lines, pretend to be cloud. There's really like no precision in this project whatsoever. So just randomly, place lifting paint from the paper. It's just very subtle. Okay, you get the idea. I think that's good enough for today. Maybe another one. Okay, stop, Vivian, stop. Okay, and then for the cloud, this one I'm going to put some cloud over here. So cloud is really just drawing like squiggly, just I don't know how to explain, just like a messy, squiggle. And when you're drawing, you'll be like, that does not look like cloud. But that's because you're doing it. If other people look at it, they're like, oh yeah, that's like cloud. I don't know. That's what I tell myself. Of course, you can look up some reference photo of cloud. And that's a rabbit hole that I don't need to get into right now. Drawing clouds and waves are like, in one sense, very easy, and in another sense, super hard. Because you want to find some sort of rule, but there's really not a hard and fast rule. And the more you want it to look like cloud or look like wave, the less it looks like cloud or wave. But sometimes if you just not think too much, it will turn out okay. Okay, so I know right now I don't think it looks like cloud, but I know tomorrow when I look at this, I will be like, oh yeah, that looks like cloud. Okay, I don't want to make you watch me make a mess. Yeah, this one's starting to look like a dessert that I'm craving for. Here. Okay, and then for the third one, I'm going to do like a half moon. This is almost may feel like a like a like a dust scene, like you barely see the moon, so maybe like a half moon. Or maybe a full moon. So I'm just using my water brush, or you can do this with regular brush, and just picking up the ink or the paint from the paper. If you want it to be really white, you can go back in later when it's dry with a white paint. That's totally fine. I think I'll do some stars with the white gel pen later. Okay. Oh, I need to speed up. I really want to keep this one short. Okay, and then maybe like also just some lines. Okay, so very subtle moon. And now I'm going to quickly draw some, make it into a scenery painting. So this one, where's my pen? Here. This one I am going to, I like the palm tree. Should I keep the palm tree? Yeah. So palm tree is, wow, when was the last time you see a palm tree? You want to have like different height on each side, so it creates a little unevenness. And I'm just going to draw like these branches, and then fill them with this palm leaves. And then maybe one from far away. Okay, I'm rushing this because I don't want to spend too much time on this live. Have you like watch me do these drawing? Probably you already know. And then maybe one taller here. This one should be bigger because it's taller. And if you feel like you want to make this into a bookmark or a card, you can definitely write something instead of drawing the moon or drawing the tree. Write your quote here, a greeting sentence, a phrase for Christmas. You can make all of these into a Christmas card just by splashing some white dots. That's the easiest way to make things into Christmassy. So here I'm going to leave it like this. And there's one. And then let's do the second one. I actually want to do this one different. I'm going to draw some mountains. I suppose you can like color it in later, but right now I want to I don't know where are these little texture on mountain. And I'm actually going to draw some hot air balloon. I think it'll be cute. I probably should Google what hot air balloon looks like before I draw them, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is this what they look like? It's funny how sometimes you feel like you know what something looks like, and you start drawing, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Let me Google it. But you get the idea. You can definitely do much better than this. So the further one, the smaller one will be further. Oh no, the further one will be smaller. So let's do some small one down here. And maybe another tiny one down here. But things should look better on maybe another one here or out of the frame, maybe. Is this one? Okay, now I really should Google what hot air balloon. I drew it a long time ago. Now I forgot what they should look like. Okay. So there's another one, and I like the city one, so I think I'm going to keep. I don't know. I like the city one, but let's do something different, maybe. Oh no, I'm gonna mess up on screen again. Let's do some like reed. Okay, again, you should Google what reed feel looks like before you do this. I think they look like this, don't they? Sometimes they are like furry, so maybe they are furry like this. Okay. Okay, and then if you want to make it into like a night scene, you can use a white gel pen to maybe draw some stars. I know this color, this whole thing is a pretty light color, but you know, like in dust, you can still see some stars. Okay, maybe not this much. Okay. Something like that. And actually, you know, this one could use some star, or maybe not. Don't want to ruin it. So here we're done, I think, for today. Very quick watercolor blending, but not with watercolor, with brush marker. So let me know what you think, and what other ideas you have with, you know, what can we apply this to, making cards, making bookmarks, and you know, what you're gonna do with this technique that I show you. And if you think this video helped you in any way, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.